Welcome back to another Purpose Served podcast episode. I'm your legendary host, Darryl Wingfield. As always, I've been liking the vibe that we've been on these last couple episodes. This one is going to be one of the most essential and pivotal ones. Y'all going to be known for a reason. The reason being is we're going to be talking about life, and not in your typical sense of that day-to-day hustle, you going to work, doing whatever it is that you got to do. It's going to tie in back to that, but essentially life for what it is. I'm really big on talking about things on its most fundamental level so people can get a true understanding of what's going on. And that's been what I've been talking about as of late, doing these workshops centered around serving your purpose. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Serving your purpose. And why it's important, why you're here for a reason, whether you want to believe it or not. That's just the knowing. And just giving a bigger, broader understanding of what's going on and where you fit into the picture, and the distractions and everything is pulling you away from your purpose. It's like your purpose is tainted. And the biggest thing that even if you see in the Purpose Served logo, if you're clicking on this podcast, you see that the PS is in the heart of the circle. That's the aim. That's the goal. And if you've been listening to this podcast, you truly understand that at this point. And for that, I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all for that. And we are going on a wild journey. And it's going to start off with your soul. Seriously speaking, the last couple podcast episodes, I've been talking about what led me to this point. I've been talking about, if you listen, I'm not really big on talking about my personal life, but I do give bits and pieces. And through my many ups and downs, many battles, trials and tribulations, you can watch some of my mom, where we talked about, our struggles with her raising us. All different types of things, man, that formed me as a person, who I am now, and who I'm still becoming, a human being. And I haven't been meaning to try to talk over y'all head, because I've been trying to simply put all of these things. And that's how cluttered our minds are. I'm still trying to do some decluttering, to be quite honest. So sit back, relax, and like I said, and enjoy this journey that we about to go on. And right now, it's going to start with simply a seed, and the importance of seeds in general, right? We eat fruits, vegetables, rice, pasta, all of these things that we eat. What else? Things that we constantly overlook. Also, at the same time, looking at the trees, the bushes, just this natural life in general, but we consume these things and overlook them, overlook its value, overlooking that it has lessons to teach us. And I talk about all the time with me walking on trails and going on these nature walks, and I really observe these things, man. Get quiet and just look, because especially with what I'm doing, this whole Purpose Served thing, and this whole business started it 3 years ago. thinking that basketball was going to be that gateway. It was, but then I realized real quick that the world was bigger than that. This stuff is real. It ain't nothing to like really play around with, and you got to take life serious. It forced me to take life serious, and like I said, I was I was a dumbass, knucklehead wild ball, man. I ain't even gonna lie. I was that type of person. If you say don't do it, I'm gonna look at you, and you're gonna look and you're gonna see like, oh man, he ain't even gonna say he gonna do it. He's about to do it, and I got myself in a lot of jams, real talk, where I could have been killed or I could have been in prison, straight up. Um, if y'all listen to a couple of my previous podcasts, I talk about it like a little bit, but that's not the point. I don't ever really want to make that the point. That's why I really don't want to, you know, dive into my personal journey all too much like that, because all of our journeys are unique, and we all started off at that same point ourselves as a seed. And going back to observing like this natural life and trees and stuff like that, like I said, y'all constantly on the highway driving by all of these trees, walking by grass. If y'all walking y'all dog, um, like I said, on your way to work, on your way to school, wherever you going, you walking past these things. And these things is also at the same time is a essential reason for our existence, why we're living. You know what I'm saying? So we overlook that. We overlook that. And also we overlook their starting point. This tree wasn't always this tree that we see right now in this present moment, or whatever moment that you're looking at a tree or driving by it. You know what I mean? If you're listening to this, driving somewhere, walking somewhere, or whatever, just look at it. It wasn't like that. It grew into that. It didn't just appear like that. It started off as a seed. And then the first thing that it did, it got rooted, got grounded, strong foundation. And then it came up out, sprouted out. And the sequence of that is damn near literally in everything. It's high key undeniable. I'm gonna be pointing out countless examples. This whole entire podcast, to be quite honest, and you guys can hear the journey that I like went on to get to this. I've told y'all I'm the guinea pig. You know what I mean? I'm willing to put myself in the fire, in the ring of things, just throw myself in it. Just to not only put myself to the test, but just show ultimately what we all are capable of is universal. And I told y'all the journey with me playing basketball. Figured that out through Kobe Bryant, who figured that out through his muses like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. But in all of these different expressions that I talk about, sports, art, music, education, science, these are form of expressions that started off as a seed and it grew. And it had to get grounded first. And the prime example that I always use is the alphabet. And think about as a kid, you're not understanding what you're really saying. But gradually, as you start to learn, you get conscious of what these letters mean and how to arrange them a certain way to communicate a smooth stream of consciousness of how to express yourself or what's going on within. And the main topic that I've been talking about these last 2 weeks, shout out to the Unmasked Podcast. Please tap in. I ain't even gonna lie. I'm dropping them down in the description below. Please check out their podcast. They're on the wave. And if you have a Christian faith, that's definitely the podcast to go to. Um, but ultimately speaking, going back to what I was saying, if you trace these things back, trace them back to their most fundamental level, these trees, all of these things, start off with a seed and then it blooms out. And we're similar like that as well. And when we all start off in a woman's womb as a seed and we start incubating naturally, it's not forced. We're not conscious about it yet. Well, not yet, but we're just not conscious. We're conscious, but in a very, very undeveloped way, right? And we're in the fetal position, curled up real tight. And you see it's just like unfolded. And we unfold once we make that exit point and enter into the world and separate from my mom. We all went through that process to get here. That part's not unique. But the time, the place, everything, that's unique. And we're going to really be getting into the understanding of why. And the one thing that we have in common with them trees that I was just talking about, the vegetables, all of that, water. Water is essential, right? So with the things that we eat, the trees and all of that, we see that it's a natural process that's naturally unfolding on its own. It's aligning itself on one accord. And with that, there's a cycle at play, right? It starts growing, but it's constantly experiencing a death and a rebirth. We see that. Think about the 4 seasons, the 12 months in a year, and they all represent something. I talked about this on a previous podcast. The winter, you just see branches. You don't see no leaves. Only the strong survive. You see some leaves here and there, you feel me? But for the most part, you really don't see any leaves. And then the spring come around. That's when the seed come about. We all see this process start happening. We see this process and this transition start happening around February, March. And going into the summer, see these seeds is at the prime of their life now. But then after that, it's time for like the ultimate sacrifice, the fall. You gotta like return back and give back to what you came from. Constantly. And the tree is the connecting medium to that. Ultimately went through that process. Holds it together through the branches. The branches are connected through the roots, the trunks, all of that. And then if you look at it, that's like similar to the way our hearts are shaped, our brain, all types of stuff. If you want to get wacky, you feel me? But ultimately speaking, water is important. And I wanted to talk about the hidden messages of water. And shout out to Johnny. He gave me this book. But this book was one of those. I zoomed through this book. It took me like 2 or 3 days to read this book. But this dude, Masaru Emoto, he's a scientist. And what he did was he researched the water and specifically ice crystals. And he took photographs of these ice crystals and see how they crystallize. And these crystals will only crystallize in a symmetrical and a beautiful shape in natural water. If it was polluted and diluted water, it couldn't do it. And also, this water was affected by sound, by words, by pictures, all different types of stuff. And if you gave the water negative words like You fool. I hate you. It wouldn't form properly. A crystal wouldn't. It wouldn't even like have a good form, or wouldn't form at all for the most part. Um, I want to read you guys something out of this book, which I'm going to put in the description as well, man. Shout out to Masaru. If we consider that before we became human beings, we existed as water, we get closer to finding the answer to the basic question of what a human being is. If we have a clear understanding of water, we will better understand the human body and even unlock the mystery of why we were born and exist as we do. So just what is water? Your first answer might be that it is a life force. If we lose 50% of the water in our bodies, we could no longer maintain life. Water carried by blood and bodily fluids is the means by which nourishment is circulated throughout our bodies. This flow of water enables us to live active lives. Water serves as the transporter of energy throughout our body. Crazy. This transport of energy is similar to a freight car that moves throughout the body. If the body is clogged and soiled, then the cargo and the freight car will also become filthy. And so it is essential that the water always remain clear. So think about what I just said in the description of this dude background work in general. Just to give a background, right? So now I'm going to read from a different part of the book. That's in the prologue. And before I even start talking, really, really, really think and re-listen to what I just read. Re-listen. Because water is like essential to pretty much everything. Everything. And we're going to hear why. I'm not even going to just re-listen. Water is the mirror of the soul. It has many faces formed by aligning itself with the consciousness of human beings. What gives water its ability to reflect what's in people's souls? In order to answer that question, I would first like to make sure that you understand this fact. Existence is vibration. The entire universe is in a state of vibration. Each thing generates its own frequency, which is unique. All that I have to say in this book is based on this one fact. Existence is vibration. That one fact. Continuing reading. My years of research into water has taught me that this is the fundamental principle of the universe. It can be said in just 3 words, but for people who have never heard them, these are very difficult to understand. The 3 words. Existence is vibration. You might think existence is vibration, even this table, this chair, my body. How can everything that can be seen and touched be vibration? It is indeed difficult to believe that things that you can pick up with your hands and examine, things like wood, rocks, and concrete, are all vibrating. So it continues to go on to talk about the getting in detail about this water experiment and how water is essential to us, and talking about how when we're in that incubation stage that I was talking about in our mom's womb, we're 99% water. When we first come out in the first couple months, I think he's in the book, we're 90% water. And when we're in the prime of our lives, we're 70% water. And as you just heard from what I just read, 50%, that's when life has a hard time maintaining. And also it talks about the importance of keeping the water pure and not clogging up the system for our blood to flow through our bodies. That's important. Um, and we neglect that. Like I said, we neglect that. And water is like the essential function to that. And not only that, water plus sound, that really affects the water. Just think about when you talking into water and it starts to ripple. You see that. And also I wanted to talk about how these crystals look. They all pretty much form crystallized when in natural water and natural harmony, hexagonally, six sides pretty much. So you got flakes, six flakes coming out, and at the heart of this hexagon, it's like a circle. And the one thing that reminds me of is God. I don't know what y'all calling for yourselves, but the divine will, the creator to the creation. When this is all a creation, and we was created by something that's outside of this. And this is something the heart that's put into words, especially like the English language, because it's very undeveloped. The stuff that I'm talking about and the things that we get to experience on the daily. And like I said, it's overlooked. We take advantage of that, you know. And we are thinking that we're the creators that's making creation instead of being that's the creation that's making creation itself. And that's what makes human beings very unique. We're like essentially the tree to like the grass and the stuff like that. We're like the divine being that's at the lowest and highest point at the same time. At the same time, we're able to view both with our very own eyes. With our very own eyes. And there's something that I wanted to read to you guys, and this coming from Genesis, from the Bible. Just to go back to that water and sound thing that I was talking about, just to let you guys know that you can't overlook this stuff. It's right in front of your face, and it's undeniable. But the things that's right in front of your face distract you from this undeniable fact that existence is vibration. And if you look up the definition of purpose, purpose is the reason for which something is created or for which something is done or exists. And existence is vibration. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to talk over your heads. I'm just trying to lay down a foundation. I'm beating down on the point because it's eventually going to tie it back to you. And how does relate to you serving your purpose, right? Going back to Genesis, we're going literally from the beginning. From the beginning, the very, very beginning. You know, God created the heaven and the earth. That was from the rip. In the second verse, and it says, "And earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep." Think about that. No form, a void, an abyss. And darkness was the face of that void, the appearance of that void. But, like, it's deeper than that. It's literally telling you it's deeper than that. But I digress. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." That begins the third verse. So there was movement, there was water, and there was sound through God saying, "Let there be light." And there's distinguishes at play. People look at it as opposites, something opposing something, but both go hand in hand. They're dynamics. And I'm going to give an example of this. Temperature. Is cold bad? Is it good? Is hot bad? Is it good? It's temperature. Hot is hot, cold is cold. But it's representing the same thing. You know what I mean? And you see that in everything. It's dynamics. It's a relationship between the two, you know. And through this process, I talked about on this last podcast symbolically what trees and stuff like that. I mean, not trees, elements and circles and squares and shapes and stuff, and how that correlates to life in itself, structure. And going back to these flakes, I'm gonna tie this in real quick because I'm rambling at this point. But going back to these flakes and going back to the six, everybody knows that the 6 days of creation, and then on the seventh day, God rested, knew all of his work was good, and humanity came in on that 6th day. And before that, a lot of stuff was transpiring before humanity came into play. And going into detail further into Genesis, if you guys are unfamiliar with the story, you know, we was formless with the clay. And the clay is a combination, you know what I mean, of the water and the earth. And God, you know what I mean, breathed the Holy Spirit into us, the word, the air, the sound, consciousness. And that sparked that divine will. And ultimately, the saddest story with that, and it's a recurrent story in the Bible, and I'm pretty sure you can find that in whatever faith that you hold, is the fall of man, the dissension of man. And it came from doing something prematurely. And there was a tree of life, and there's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We're just going to call it a tree of knowledge. Tree of knowledge of opposites. Dynamics. And it was Eve was tempted by the serpent to eat one of the fruits from this tree. They can eat out of all the trees. Just don't eat from this one right now. And she ate from it. And then after that, she gave it to Adam. Adam ate the fruit too. And then, they somehow knew they was butt-ass naked. Sorry, God, I don't mean to play, but all jokes aside, well, that was a joke. But they was aware, like, oh, wait, what? And they tried to hide from God. How do you try to hide from the Creator when you're the Creator's creation? And then, when God proceeded to try to get to the bottom of everything, Adam was the first person that got questioned, and he blamed Eve. He didn't take responsibility. And then Eve, when she got questioned, she blamed the serpent. She didn't take responsibility. She didn't take accountability for her actions. This story gets played out over and over and over and over again. Over and over again. From doing something prematurely, trying to desire something that is not your time. And going back to the seasons and going back to the bushes, going back to the trees, going back to the fruit. You see that they naturally let the process take place. That's the tree of life. That's essentially the tree of life. And we desire things that we want, but never ever do what we need. That's essentially serving your purpose. And that's deeply connected to that seed that's in you that's trying to bloom out. And you can see that with any and everything. Like I said, it happens to us in the womb, us blooming out. And we got to understand that no matter where we are, there's circumstances. Life is harsh, yo. I talk about when the wintertime come for plants and trees. They experience that too, that harshness. When it get real, there's some sacrifice, there's some loss. But don't worry. Hold on. There's more blessings to come. There's more. There's more. You gotta hold on. You're gonna be disappointed. You will be disappointed. And you gotta, at the end of the day, trust that your purpose will lead you to that reason for why you're living. It did that for me. And I'm recognizing that it's doing that for other people. I'm seeing this spark that's happening in people's eyes, like right before me. And it's kind of crazy. It's making me humbly, you know, being all of that presence of the divine wholeness. And that's what we all looking for. And we think that we're going to find it in our phone. We think that we're going to find this wholeness in the relationships that we have with people. And the things that we partaking in. That's destructive, straight up. A lot of shit destructive as hell. It's being promoted right in front of our face. But you don't rarely get to hear something like this. And it's deliberate. A lot of us is in confusion, including myself. That's the reason why I started doing this. That's the reason why I'm on this path. I'm still in the dark myself. And I said this a while back on a couple of podcast episodes that we are surrounded by darkness. I just read in Genesis, darkness came before the light. Darkness was the face of the deep. But there was something, a divine light in the middle of that, which is very overlooked. I had a plan. And if you don't know that plan, you're going to be in the midst of chaos. And chaos is a lack of understanding, a lack without separation. And that's the story of us at this present moment. And it feels like personally I gotta do my due diligence and spread this kind of word, spread this kind of message. And not only that, provide the resources and materials for y'all to be able to do that. And you gotta honor and respect whatever gifts that you have. And me even talking, what I've been just talking about is because if you need this gift, if it's a necessity, then that means that it's going to be a necessity for somebody else as well. Somebody's going to need this gift that you got. You can't hold on to it. And the hero's journey that I talk about with Joseph Campbell, look at Spider-Man, look at Luke Skywalker, look at King Arthur. They all had a gift. But what made them a hero is they didn't hold on to that gift. The villain did. And they wanted it for themselves. And think about how bad you want this villain to get taken out. Because it's like, yo, you being destructive, bro. Yo, I kind of care about the people that Spider-Man trying to save. You trying to save the people in New York? That's for the people, but he got to do that through himself. He got to do that through himself. And these, like I said, these are myths that's connected throughout stories. They're universal. What makes something universal is you could put it at any point in time, and it fits and it connects. No matter what place, no matter what time. That's all I said. Everything that I'm talking about right now, you could relate that to wherever your faith is at. That's where my knowing is at, straight up. And you got to hone into that. It starts with that seed, but you neglecting that. Like I said, you're like talking about these last previous podcast episode about your soul being removed from your body. And now it's being on purpose for control. And you have to have self-control for yourself. You have to have self-love for yourself before you can get it from anybody. This is the most love I've been getting from anybody in my life, straight up. But that's because I started being a reflection of that. Just like water. That's why I really recommend reading hidden messages in water. And you can't let anybody get in between you and your purpose, because it's trying to get you to bring something to this world that never existed before. Due to the fact that you're here and there's not another you, that means that you got something to offer to this whole entire universe, because you're a makeup of this whole entire universe. You get what I'm saying? And you got to respect that divine will. You get what I'm saying? And we constantly disrespect that. We constantly waste that. And I read in this book earlier that you see what it does to like your bloodstream. If you really in the bad mood, that affects your blood. That affects that water. That taints it. That kills you faster. That fills you with diseases. That fills you with illness. You got to get to the root of that. And a lot of us are trying to stay away from that. Stay away from the root of the problem. We're trying to go outside. We're trying to get a doctor to tell us what's wrong with us. We know. And there's a place that you can take that to figure that out. But I try to plainly put that through you expressing yourself through things that you care about, whatever hobby, whatever bring you fulfillment, it don't matter what it is, for real. It starts as a seed. And a seed whole point of existence is for expression. And you see that with these trees and everything that I'm talking about every day. And we disrespect it. We chop all of this shit down. All types of stuff. All this madness. All the stuff that we using and we wasting. We making plastic and we don't even know what to do with it. It's wild. I've been real quiet and just watching this stuff, but I don't know. Y'all could probably hear the change in even how I'm doing these podcasts. Normally, you know what I mean? A while back, I said I was going to start having guests on here, but I told you it's a vibe right now. It's my podcast. I can do whatever I want. For real. And ultimately, I know what this journey is like. I'm not talking out my ass. I'm not talking because of these books that I'm talking about. I experienced that depth first. I went to rock bottom, yo. And like I said, there's a lot of things I don't like really talking about, because it's not about that. And y'all got to integrate that dark side of yourself, that shadow part that y'all scared of, to bring yourself wholeness. Look at the sun. Look at the moon. Look at the stars. Look at that little dot. If you look closely at a dot, it represents a circle, and it's radiating energy. But that's what our senses could feel. But something preceded those senses, and it falls back to the Creator. That's the creation. We think that comes first. That's where our confusion come from. We put our faith in the things that we created. That's always been our problem as a humanity. And I'm still unlearning that. But that brings us to the end of this podcast episode. I appreciate y'all for holding on for this one. This one was crazy. This one was crazy. This one was nuts. But become a purpose-served member. And if you become a purpose-served member now, you'll have access to the workshops that I'm about to start having available. I finished up the planners. I finished up the Purpose Served tools, the digital templates and worksheets that you guys can use to help you guys find your purpose if you're lost, if you don't know where to look. And I always say, when you ask that question of who am I or where's my purpose, you don't look outside of yourself. Think about a seed when I start saying these things. Think about the Purpose Served logo. That's that seed emanating out. That's been his journey of Purpose Served in general. And we growing from here. Subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Download this podcast. Share this to other people. I'm going to also be making a Patreon. I already got a Patreon, actually. So I'm going to be putting that in the description below. But yeah, I'm going to be having these purpose-served goal-setting tools for y'all to help y'all integrate y'all purpose into y'all goals through a service. And through the process workshop that I'm been in the process of building these last couple of months, I'm just now finishing up. So this is a very, very pivotal moment for me in my life and a transformational point for me, because we're at the point where we're blooming. Yeah, so ultimately speaking, to show your support, please purchase these digital planners, these join these workshops. They're gonna be very, very helpful to you when whatever the seed that you got in you that's been pulling at you ever since the pandemic. Bring this out. And this Friday, go on the Purpose Served website, and I'm going to have the Purpose Served handbook that's going to be pretty much a layout of the process that I was talking about of how to take your purpose and integrate that into a goal through a service, through whatever it is that bring you fulfillment, that Spider-Man, that hero archetype that I was just talking about. But I appreciate y'all a lot. And I'm seeing that we're growing. And I'm seeing that they're all out there. Y'all really feel this just as much as I do, because I'm passionate about this. If y'all don't hear, y'all don't see, I really care, And it took a lot for me to get to this point, and it took a lot of trust, it took a lot of faith, and it took a lot of unwavering courage to face crazy odds, yo. And before I let this podcast go, I was one of those kids in class. And going back to when my mom was on this podcast episode, I had to get removed from class. I had to have an aide in class. So I was one of those, like, this kid, he ain't gonna make it far. He's gonna be in some trouble. Intervention program at 9 years old, crisis intervention. Because I acted wild and unruly. And I told y'all that carried over throughout the years. Got worse and worse. And I picked up a basketball. And I put my focus in that, because that gave me purpose. Allowed me to see the world, go to places that I never thought that I would go to play basketball. From getting cut in high school, not playing in college, but being able to play professional basketball. Y'all all capable of that. So I'm not just talking out my ass for real. That's me caring. You know what I'm saying? But serve your purpose. Treat the purpose as if it's goal, and take action towards it. That's the service part. And that's what it means to serve your purpose. Until next time, y'all. Last but not least, deuce.